Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Third Culture Convos. Welcome back. What's up? What's up? What's up, Majid? How you doing, man? It's been a while. I missed you. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you? What's
I'm
up?
excellent, man. I'm killing it. It looks like you're actually sitting in a love den right now.
I love
It's either a
that.
den of love or a den of violence. It's hard to draw the line. Like sometimes you
Welcome,
can't tell. Violent
welcome to
love. Welcome to Pakistan. Uh, Majid, you got some crazy cats on the outside, just trying to either make love or make fight, make war. What do you think
yeah,
they're
yeah.
doing? Yeah,
Audience, if you're listening, I don't know. I don't know. They heard
they're
the
done
record.
now.
The moment you press record, they heard that woman say like recording has started, and they stopped. So like, but if you do hear cats in the background, everyone like, I don't know. I can't fight them. They're gonna beat me. So.
Your call. You decide. Is it love? Is it war? Or do you kind of need to have a little bit of love to have a bit of war, and to have a little bit of war to have a little bit of love? Maybe it's like the tension. Actually, that's where all relationships live, really, in the tension, the give and the
Yeah,
take.
it's the fabulous line, I'm a lover and a fighter, fight for what I love, right?
Yeah. Fabulous. Fabulous indeed. Uh, today, um, it's these are crazy times. I start every episode like this. These are crazy times. But today I wanted to talk about representation and visibility of third culture experiences in media and in pop culture. So, yeah, like it feels like over the last few, over the last few years, there's been let's say like the there's enough of white. Like there's been enough of white, and let's get some other people up and about. And actually, this is very interesting. I mean, no, and this might be like a foot in my mouth. Like I haven't thought entirely through, so I'm going to say it and see what happens. But even so, the people that are chosen, or the people that break through the media circus, to become the visibility and representation of quote unquote minorities, and brown people, black people, Asian people, whatever. um, they only come from the third culture. Like they're only from that subset of that population. um and they're not necessarily pure. Okay, let's say like they're not pure. um I mean, is that true? Is that, like, you think that's true? Does that make sense? Is that right? Like, I don't know.
It kind of has to be. Yeah, I think it is true. No, like when you said it, it kind of makes sense. You kind of have to, because you have to be like, first off, with these third culture, they might be third culture individuals, but they're often portraying their native homelanders, right? Like even if they're third culture kids, they're often told to ignore their Western and play up their Eastern. And that's one of their big complaints usually, is that, hey, like I'm never treated as just like a functioning member of Western society. I always have to be in extreme. If it's like, we can go through the stereotypes and the tropes, the cliches, but whatever. But um, you have to be willing to sort of make fun of your own, and you have to speak their language just to get into the industry, just to get your foot in, right? You have to be able to speak their language, and their language is uh, definitely not Eastern.
Well, yeah, yeah, and to tell a story, right, that'll translate to, like, let's say we're talking about English speaking audiences, right? Like, because like we're talking about content. I mean, I don't speak French, so I don't. And like I haven't watched. Well, I mean, I could watch foreign films, sure, but even in those, right? It's the people that like create it. Like I'm thinking about sort of the big names that come into my head when it comes into like representation of third culture experiences. In like There is only representation of third culture experiences when it comes from the colored world, not like a pure one. So I think about, like, Trevor Noah. I think about Hasan Minhaj. I think about what's Velma, what's of the
Mindy Kaling.
I
Yeah.
think of yeah. I think about the little one. What's the little one? The little one. Master of None.
Aziz Ansari.
I think about him too, and so I think about. I mean, and these are just like my. I'm just not talking about like, well, barring Trevor Noah, these are my brown people, right?
And we got Rami now.
Uh,
We got
yeah, yeah. We got Rami, Michael. You got Mo, right?
yeah, yeah.
And I mean, and I think you're getting sort of a thirst for this type of content and this type of different like sort of differences in these things. But then I question, or like literally my question is now then okay, but what about the even within that circle? So like if you think about identity, and identity is a circle, and so and you share identities with other people, and so let's say that circle is India. So there's a big India circle, and then there's a smaller India circle called Gujarat, and then there's like maybe a smaller circle called like your family name, and then there's a smaller circle, and so you exist within those things. But with third culture kids, you have a lot of overlapping circles, so they don't all exist within the same big circle. So you'll have like the India part, and you'll have the America part, right, or the US part, and then those, and you'll be in between those two. That Zen diagram circle, and inside those you'll Venn
Zendaya.
Venn diagram. No, I'm just chilling. I'm just chilling. That's why. And so you have those diagrams, and then you exist in them, and so but that even in that in terms of representation, you are let's say an extreme of a culture, like you're the extreme of India in the sense that you're part of the third culture group of India. You're not the like India, like I mean, be careful with the word, the India proper, like or like if that's the right word, right, to describe that.
Well, you're on the extremes of both ends. You're on the extreme of the India proper, and you're on the extreme of the America proper too. On this way, right? Like
Yeah,
you exist on the fringes of both these like circles. Going back
yeah,
to the Venn diagram.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I don't know if like we're now getting slowly to the point. And by the way, there's like shout outs to like Russell Peters, I guess. He really, he was the original like he opened the doors to this first generation comedy, if you will.
Yeah.
In terms of you always had in the 90s, there was Black Americans, Latino Americans, but it was always like third generation, but the American twist. Russell Peters sort of globalized it, and he made it just we're all a global village, and we all can laugh at each other. Look, I'm Indian, my friend's Chinese, and I grew up
Yeah.
with Jamaican. That kind of thing. And
Yeah.
just while we're on the topic, shout out to our own Lawrence of Arabia, the original third culture kid, I guess. The white boy who came to the desert and stayed with the Arabs, like fought next to the Arabs against the British back in the day.
Yeah.
And they made a big movie about him and whatnot.
Well, he like what's how is he a third culture? I mean, okay, does it? No, man. Is he a third culture kid?
Well, I would say he's once they adopted him in as one of their own, and he accepted being home in a different environment. I think you're chosen to live somewhere else for the rest of your life, away from your culture. You have voluntarily or involuntarily, unwittingly, walked into the multiverse of third culturism.
Well, but everyone, like the entire crew that was living with like Lawrence, like, do you know any of their names? Right? Like the only name.
Hamza, Ahmed.
It was not Muhammad. Muhammad 1, Muhammad 2.
Yeah. Mo West, Mo East, Mo North.
Like, I mean, so we do see the representation. I feel like we own, and so that's where, like, as I started the discussion, I feel like we only see representation of third culture and not when it comes to the color. Oh, and there's more of that than ever before. Even like remember that film, the well, I don't know why I'm stuck on India, but the film Slumdog Millionaire. Like Slumdog
Yeah,
Millionaire also like was it like I think it was Patel. What was it?
Danny
The
Boyle
act
Patel was the actor.
yeah. And so it's also it's similar because they're the ones that make the breakthroughs because they can actually speak the language that will sort of bring the different parts of their culture and identity. But does there being a third culture color their identity? Well, it does. I mean, that's literally what we talk about on the show for years. Is that like it does color their identity and opinions and the things that they bring. But now here's like a strange question: does that actually block the representation of the purest like browns or the purest Asians or the purest like the guys that aren't part of the third culture? Like,
I
I don't know.
think this is less third culture, and this is more just part of the media show business. That generally speaking, like even in America, in the show 30 Rock, there was a whole subplot about like what real America, quote unquote, real America desires. And there's like the show creators, usually show creators are your like West Coast elites or Northeastern yuppies who have gone to Ivy Leagues. They're usually the writers of shows and stuff, and they tend to not show real America, quote unquote, the mainland, farmland America, suburban America, boring America. And so and that's something that Fox News just in general has also played up on, that you guys are stuck in your own bubbles and you're only looking at 3% of the country, but there's 97% that doesn't look like you do. And that would then translate, the same thing translates into the Indian market, the Pakistani market. For example, Karachi, this main biggest city, busiest city, does not represent like the country. My life in Pakistan is not representative of an average Pakistani's life in Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Definitely.
So that might just be a show business problem. We're getting to the like common man, the like, the assault of the earth type peoples. Getting their story out there is always very difficult because we look for extremes. And your third culture is your almost most extreme case sometimes.
Right. Are we happy with the amount of so say like so if we accept the premise that third culture kids, let's say they're the door openers of like they're the bridge builders between thoughts and between like separate thoughts and separate cultures and separate identities. If we accept that as the premise, which I think we can, like I mean I think we made an argument for that, right?
I can make another one. Can I just make one more quick one? I just remembered this when you said about the like
bridge building,
transatlantic bridge building. Yes. American football, as we know it, the NFL pregame, halftime show, and postgame show, as we know it, was actually engineered and developed by an Australian sports like person behind the scenes. He wasn't he wasn't an athlete. He was just a producer, showrunner type, and he used to work in the EPL. And he had seen the English Premier League, soccer, football, and he had seen how the shows do it over there and how like they create tension and they create debates in the middle of the game within the game or after or before the game.
Yeah.
And so he brought those ideas overseas from the UK to America. And so what we know today as the Fox pregame, Fox postgame, the like TSN halftime show, all of that hype and that pageantry was brought over by an Aussie who had worked in England. So like, yeah, and that's again, this media, entertainment, athletics. So just another example.
I mean, even in terms of business, right? Like in business, generally one of the well, I think I've talked about this before, but one of the things that really works is when if you see what works in another country, like a business idea that works really well in one country, it's you can't just wholesale bring it, like you can't copy paste, but you can copy and then like paste with a twist and give it a local twist onto the idea, and that's usually a good way to like to you know to adapt a new idea. And people that can do that are people that have actually like our third culture people that have seen and that have, like are sort of more open to these to different ideas and can adapt them so to make them more, and can understand a different culture so they can make them work in that culture.
Copy, contextualize, paste.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
just one additional step, right?
Like Starbucks, like, so, and like Starbucks is the big story. So Starbucks was like, was it Schultz, I think was his name, Schultz. He goes down to Italy. He's like, everybody's always getting coffee, and like in the morning, like before they get to work, everybody's got coffee, and there's a real coffee culture, and this place's coffee is better than that place's coffee, and that place's coffee is shit, and this place's coffee is amazing, and and all that stuff. And then they get down to, he goes down and and like even the way the coffee was served in the Starbucks in the States, you got they had the like the aprons, the bow ties, the like, really like high class, like
The story behind the coffie beans, right?
yeah. The whole like shtick.
Colombia and
Yeah, this is where we got this. Oh man, I got a special one for you today.
older touch them,
Yeah.
don't worry. Like,
Yeah, like I got napkins. I use napkins a lot, and like, and then when he goes and he copies that exactly in Seattle, as a store, and it doesn't work. Like he's got the bow ties because people don't give a shit about that stuff, and then he goes, you know what? Let's change it up a bit. Puts the green on them. Puts the like open up the
twist,
shirt.
right?
Yeah.
This is
Does the American twist, and then a little like the rest is, let's say, like Starbucks history. And that's a big lesson in terms of like it's a big lesson in the business world, at least on like copying stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's hosts and host examples of this, but I don't think we've seen third culture kids more and more, but I don't know how to explain this. We've seen them highlighted as third culture kids. We haven't seen a third culture kid in a group. So like in a group setting within media. So like something like a show like Friends or The Big Bang Theory. Like, I don't know, would you consider, the Indian character on Big Bang Theory? Is he a third culture kid as an Indian who's living in America and just studying in America, or is he just an Indian kid? He's like, is that third culture or not? I'm just asking. We're completely off the beaten track here.
I know, as definition, I would say no. Because I think what we've decided is the definition, or what we how we approach it as definition, is having grown up in a culture separate from your parents.
So he's a one culture kid who is now like.
So I mean, he's an okay. It depends on how you want to label, but he's either an expat or an immigrant.
Yeah, okay, but he's not a third culture kid, for example.
No, because I think that's what makes you a third culture kid. Because what are some of the markers of a third culture kid? Is the identity issues, right? Like that's one of the things. And he wouldn't have identity issues in the sense that he's Indian, and he's like, he may become American later, and he'll be like, okay, well, what does that even mean to be American once you've been Indian your entire life? Like that's possible, but he's Indian, and him even in his head, like when he says I'm gonna go back home, that's not a difficult thing to explain what he means when he says back home. But as a third culture, when you say I'm gonna go back home, that could mean anything, right? like that could mean lots of different things. Home is a lot of things, and nowhere at the same time, right?
In that way, have you seen Community?
Yeah.
Do you know Abed?
Yeah.
Like in the show, they say that his dad is Palestinian and his mom is Polish, because in real life, Danny Putty, the actor who plays him, that is his combination. Like his mom or dad is Indian and like half Indian, half Polish. So they said the character is also that. In that way, he's a very good representation then, I think, of the third culture, being a third culture kid, and sometimes the isolation and otherism of a third culture kid in a sea of, it's different for me a little bit because I grew up in Dubai, so everyone there is almost a third culture kid or an expat, which is third culture kid light, right? Like it's the free version of third culture kid, right? It's the like, you didn't pay for the pro version yet. Like you'll get there.
You're not entirely there, but you're not entirely like but you're growing up in a totally different I mean, like when you say home, like even your home, like Dubai, even though it's the place that you grew up, but it wasn't, you're not like necessarily home. It's just a place that you grew up, right?
That's a mixed, like I don't even know how to describe it. It's the city I grew up in. That I don't know if I have a home city per se. That's where I really don't like. Toronto would have been home at some point.
Well, I mean, like you said, like I think you have wider roots. So your roots are not necessarily in one place, right? Like that's the whole like thing, and with that comes a lot of like psychological problems, right? And like very like natural things that you don't find in places where your roots are very clear, right? Like you're confused about where you're from, right? And you were confused about where you're from, and it took work to kind of become comfortable with the fact that you're confused about where you're from, right?
Well, it took work, and ironically, or even just in the most perfect sense, it took me coming to Pakistan to realize that, like, to get comfortable to just being other. Like, even here, if you're the other here, khalas, there's no place. You can't run, you can't hide. Like,
yeah.
Be culture
when you're in the place that, like, everybody, like, I'm even careful to say this, where everybody looks like you. In terms of, like, let's say you're the animal part of you, so like, your skin, your hair, your this, okay, I look like everybody here, right? Even though I think about that usually for places like I mean, near Pakistan, but even in Pakistan, Afghanistan, like if you look at like Afghani people, like there isn't, like, you'll see like such a range of types of like blonde hair, blue eye.
Okay.
Yeah, like Pakistan too. Blonde hair, blue eye. You see, like both Afghani.
At the coffee shop yesterday, I literally was like, my God, there was one guy who looked Chinese, who looked straight Chinese. I'm like, he's speaking Urdu, but you look Chinese. There was another guy who was like African, like not dark skin. No, he was African. And there is a population here. And he was speaking Urdu. And then there was another guy, your guy who you're speaking about, the Afghani guy, who was like, he looked like a white dude. Like, he looked straight up like, it looks weird that you're speaking Urdu, you should be speaking English. You look like actually kind of like, wait, what? And so even alone in Pakistan, there's such a difference of appearance that you like, really, really, again, it took me to come here to realize, oh wait, like there is a difference, like this, like Pakistan proper.
I mean, I remember the first time I saw like a blonde hair, blue-eyed Afghani. Like I remember it to this day. I was like, what? And he was fully like, like a kameez sarwal, like he was fully like. And he was huge. He was a big guy. He was a construction worker, and he was just a big guy, like flip flops, and just like building things. Like I remember I took a hammer, and I was trying to put a nail into a 2x4, and I was like putting it in, and I'm like duk, and then he looks at me and he laughs, and because he didn't speak a word of any, like we could not communicate to each other, and then he comes. And he takes the hammer, and I still got like a whole bunch of nails to do. And then he takes the hammer, he takes the nail, puts it in, one hit, like in one hit, like he was like a jackhammer. He was like that. What is this? specimen, man. Like where'd they get this guy? But then that's why you see like like I mean, even with like UFC, right? The fighters, like the Uzbek fighters and these guys that like go, you see also the same, like they all look, but they're like like
These
like
Dagestani dudes, all these mountain Dagestani guys were like fighting bears right now while we're like talking about them. They're like
yeah,
fighting bears at like 10 years old.
yeah, training. Training.
They're not even fighting bears, they're getting their kids to fight bears. So
Yeah. Train, go. Well, and I think so, and I think the reason why that we have so much of that, like, I mean, that obviously you have the Silk Road, and so the Silk Road was just movement, and it was like it's an ancient road, right? That moved back and forth, and that like people settle, people have like their East Coast family and their West Coast family, right? And this is the other way around, right? Like they had like. Because you had to land somewhere, and then you're like, all right, let's make a family over here. Like I'm not just gonna sit here for like 6 months and do nothing. Or I fell in love with someone.
Yeah, you're winter peeps and you're like summer folk. Like
yeah. And usually,
then...
if you're a trader, I mean, if you're, I guess, a good trader, you have money, like because you're going back and forth. Like you're not doing this for free, right? You're going back and forth, so you're able to collect money, and because you're buying low in like China, and then you're going out to the middle to Jeddah, and you're selling high and you're buying low there, then you're going back to China and selling that, and you're just moving up back and forth, and you're spreading seed all around, right? And so that's why you get up like along the Silk Road just such a variety of different people, and the way people look. I mean, you'll like I feel like there's a cultural tradition to the Silk Road, that we don't necessarily talk about that. But there is a culture, I believe, like, since like the road is no longer sort of walked anymore, or it's no longer like used. I mean, the Chinese are changing that, but that Silk Road is a real for Asians, like for Asians as in the continent of Asia. That is, and everything that falls in it. That's the backbone of our history. Right, like no pun intended. That's the spine of our history, and that's what spread us out all over the world, and that's why we're like you'll find a connection between people down in like northern Africa, and you'll find a connection between them and people in like China and India and and that's I feel like that's a forgotten part of history or an ignored part of history, and especially as like sort of nations developed on top of that, you probably wanted the sort of our shared connection to be less and less of a prominent feature.
Well, this is where the representation, we get back to that representation. I think it's been ignored because we, the people of the Silk Road, have ignored it. I feel Eastern people are the first people to undervalue and ignore and dismiss their own history first, which means that no one else will play up your shit. And if we go back to media, when I say media, like if it's about movies and stuff, I usually go by Hollywood less than anywhere else in the world, any other cinema places. And if you look at Hollywood, for example, it's really funny that like, sure, they might put more diverse cast, but it's still the same 5 historical storyline places, right? Like in the entire expanse of human history and the entire geography of the world, we still really only focus on the ancient Greeks, Romans, the Franks. Do you know what I mean? There's a certain trend I'm getting at here. World War II, like
and how that history is taught, right? Like how that history is taught. I got a visitor from the East now that I mentioned that. Where's our visitor? Yeah. Oh, I just said that.
Yo.
Oh, snap.
Can you hear me?
Really?
How's my connection? Is it good?
It's
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, it's fine.
yeah.
But like video wise, I can't see you. I don't know
Oh,
if
so I'm gonna tell you why that is, because I'm on the beach in front of a restaurant that I've connected to before on Wi-Fi, and I happen to be walking past it, and it's like, oh, Zoom meeting available. I'm like, I'll connect. Why not? So it's dark. You can't see anything.
What's up, Rashid? How are you? What's going
I'm
on?
good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good,
How's
good.
that?
We are recording, just FYI. I don't know if you
Yeah.
know
That I it told me it yelled at me when I connected. It's like, we're recording. I'm like, okay, I get it. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Just like I don't want you to say anything, Rashid. Like,
I
It's
mean, you.
it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and Rashid's slightly intoxicated. Whatever, on the side of the beach. Who cares? But you know how it is.
Okay, which
I'm in
explains
Thailand.
why.
What do you expect?
I mean, you're on vacation, and so why are you like be on vacation, man? What's up?
But
Like,
this
is
is a
it?
party vacation. Like, I'm with people who basically go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, and so then I peel off and do my own thing. And there's like 3 bars still open at this time, and I'm like, whatever, I'll go. So okay, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I'll tell you what my night was tonight. We had some Thai food, and then there's the bar where we're staying at, basically the resort we're staying at. They have this huge restaurant right on the beach, right? And at night it
uh,
becomes a discotheque, a club, basically. And so I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll just go there, have a drink or two. And they're replaying the Liverpool match from a few nights ago against Wolves, where we got destroyed 3-0. And I'm sitting there watching the match, and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. And then it just starts to fill in, and like people are coming in nonstop type of thing. There's beer pong going on, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, fine, whatever. I'll have my drinks, watch this match, and and not. I don't know
Can
why
I
I did
ask?
that to me.
Can I ask a question? So you're in Thailand, just like for anybody
Yes,
that doesn't know, and
I'm in Koh Tao.
and the
Specifically, I'm in
pe
Koh Tao.
and the people that are coming in, what like are they Thai people or are they like
No, no, no. It's all
who's
tourists.
it's all
Uh,
tourists? Okay.
so the vast majority are English, and then you have a lot of. I haven't figured this out yet. They're either Danish, Swedish, or Norwegian. I think they're Swedish. I don't know which ones they are, and then there's a lot of Russians and a lot of Israelis. Lots of Israelis. It's like
Well,
every second language I heard is Hebrew.
can I just say something? I have three things to say to you, Rashid. Yeah.
Okay.
When you're in Thailand, you don't need to say Thai food. I think over there it's just called food. Yeah.
But if you're in a place like Koh Tao, you have to say Thai food because all these people are not Thai.
The place might be though, I think. The second thing is, speaking of places, the second thing is, I think the last discotheque was closed in the 1980s. It's now called the club.
the 80s called.
But it's called the club now.
I
Yeah, there's no
understand.
They want their discotheques back.
Listen, I aged myself. Do you know how old I felt sitting in that beach bar watching Liverpool get destroyed by Wolves? And all these young people are streaming in playing beer pong, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm that guy now. I'm the dude who's sitting there off to the side trying to watch the TV, and there's all these young people in my way.
that segues perfectly into my third point, actually. Kudos
Yes.
to you for watching this Liverpool
Oh my
team and
God.
that Liverpool game. Kudos to you.
It was bad, real bad. There was something I was going to say just now before you brought those 3 points up, MJ, and I completely forgot what it is because I'm almost 42, and my brain just trails off real fast. So, no, here's another thing. So Waseem, you were asking who the people are here.
Yeah.
I realized a lot of the workers here are from Burma. And the Rohingyas, they're Muslim because they're the ones that actually escaped Myanmar from the genocide that's been happening there for like a decade now, at least. So an example, I was walking where I was actually going right now. I was going to a little pancake hut on the side of the road to get a late night snack before I go back to my room. And so we went there a couple of days ago, and midday, walk up to it, and I hear noise coming from the hut, and I realize it's Quran playing over the guy's phone. And I'm like, oh, this guy's Muslim, obviously. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, what is he? So we order what we're going to have and all that, and we're waiting. It takes a bit of time because he has one little, like, it's pretty much a wok that they put oil in, and they deep fry the pancake, and they stuff it with whatever you ask for. And then we're in the process of getting our stuff and walking away. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. And he's like, oh, you're Muslim. And I said, yeah. He said, where are you from? I said, from Canada. And he said, what's your name? I said, Rashed. He's like, oh, my name's Muhammad Amin, I think his name was. And I said, where are you from? And I'm thinking Bengali, possibly. And he's like, oh, I'm Burmese. I'm from Myanmar. And I'm like, so he's like one of these few people that have escaped. And I realized there are two different parallels here going on. So basically, the Burmese here in Thailand are like the Mexican migrants to the United States, or the Venezuelan migrants to Colombia. They basically come and just find work. And a lot of them are working in these island resort towns because I don't know where else they're going to get work from. So, I mean, kudos to them. Amazing. Like, they're like, this guy pretty much owns his business on the side of the walking road in the middle of Koh Tao, making pancakes with all these different types of toppings on it, or in it, basically. And then all the waiters and stuff in all these restaurants, they're all Burmese. And we figured this out because of the fact that one of my friends I'm with, he's severely allergic to all nuts. So at first, his boyfriend, like, typing it up on Google Translate into saying, can't have nuts, all that, but it's in Thailand. Like, what the hell? You're in Thailand. Like, almost everything has nuts in, especially pad Thai. There's nuts on that. There's peanuts. And they're like, I can't read that. We're like, what do you mean? They're like, I don't read Thai. What do you read then? Burmese. We're like, oh shit. Okay. Now I know what I'm dealing with. Now I'm understanding the social reality of where we are in these parts of Thailand. If you go to Bangkok, different story. It's all Thai, different story. But these tourist type of island resorts, they're all Burmese migrant workers. The ones that.
It's interesting when you go to places because, like, not every country has. So I mean, this has always been a criticism, I think, I've noticed this criticism is that when you go to, like, the Middle East, for example, the workers aren't. I probably Qatar more, and like Kuwait, like in Saudi, it's not the same anymore. It used to be the case, but you go to a restaurant or something, and the staff and the workers aren't Saudi or aren't Qatari or aren't Kuwaiti. You go to the States, you go to this, and that's like. I don't know if this is like a notable criticism or it's something. It's just something that I've noted that in some countries the staff are the people that are from this country, and in some countries the staff are people that are from other countries trying to make a living in a different country because they can't do it in their country.
Right.
And the where it was the most stark, I think the most highlighted place I've ever seen this was in North Korea. So in North Korea, I went to North Korea, and I went to a resort in North Korea for a weekend, and all of the staff that worked at the resort were not North Korean. They were Chinese, and they had a very limited time to allow to work there. So they were on 6-month shifts. And then after 6 months, that's it. They lost the job. They're out, and then they bring in a new person. What I had heard, the reason for that was so that the Chinese people, that the staff don't make connections and like lasting relationships with the local North Korean population, and let them know what's going on outside, to fill it, like, so that they don't blow the cover of the like of the narrative. And that was always that, like, I think so that's the most stark, like that's my most stark story of like looking around and because, like, you know, I didn't know it at the time, but then when I found that out when I was there, I was like, whoa, cool, like, wow, like that's why you guys are all Chinese here and not like, you know, I'm looking for North Koreans and or like and they and usually a big giveaway was if you asked someone where they were from. So I was walking with a guy and I asked him, where are you from? And he said, I'm from North Korea, North Korea. And I was like, why you say North Korea? Like why? Because usually if you ask a Korean, a South Korean or Korean, where you from? He says Korea. They don't normally, they don't say South Korea. They say, I'm from Korea. I'm Korean, or whatever. And this guy was he was an older gentleman, but he was definitely like emphasizing the North part of like him being from Korea.
He was making the differentiation.
I was saying I'm from North Korea, and I remember being like, why is well, that's so interesting that he like no, but he didn't say North, he said South. Like that's actually why the story, because he said I'm from South Korea, and he kept emphasizing the South part. Like this is like I've probably gone. It's probably 20 years ago since I went. Now you're not allowed to go on that trip. Like people aren't allowed in anymore, so they closed that trip. But yeah, like, you know, labor, you got like labor needs to be imported, and like things need to be done, and different countries do it in different ways. And it depends, I guess, on like, you know, what the demographics are of your country. And like in Canada, you go to a restaurant, it's Canadians that are working, but sometimes in the back, it's not. Or aspiring Canadians.
I mean, every so often you would get like, you know, the I don't know, the person on some kind of working holiday from France or something like that, but that's rare. In English parts of Canada, that's not common.
I'm just saying, I remember the days of the Silk Road, man. At least you could have family in all the places that you worked. Like you could go, the good old days, right? When you went on the Silk Road and you could have like your family in Singapore and your family in Baghdad and your family in Jeddah, and you know, no one knew, but you could just go around from family to family.
Yeah.
Keep them all well taken care of. Not like today now. Now, if you work those jobs, you're low.
So, what did I miss? What was the topic of the day before I called in?
Go ahead, tell him.
I don't know. I don't want to tell him. You tell him.
We were talking
I don't want to do it. You do it.
Representation. What was the other word? You've used one other word. Representation.
Visibility.
And visibility of third culture kids in media
and pop culture.
Okay.
And so you actually said something about like if you go to Thailand, it's all Thai people, but if you come to these resort towns, and that was the point again, Waseem. So for example, if you watch Thai media, they'll show you these like Bangkok. They're not really these outliers, and these are the third culture over there. These are true third culture people, the Burmese workers in Thailand. That would be third culture.
Well, no, that would be that would not. He wouldn't be. His kids would be. His kids would be.
Yeah. That's expat and immigrant. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
We made that distinction as well.
Yeah. So like I mean, this I don't know the answer to, and I've always wanted to know like why there's a difference between expat and immigrant.
Because an immigrant goes through a process to become naturalized or gain citizenship, whereas an expat never gets citizenship.
Oh, what about a migrant?
A migrant is basically someone who escapes, and I mean, like for a long time, we're talking about the migrants going from like those who are migrant people going from Syria, for example, making their way into Europe. They're not necessarily refugees because they're not able to claim refugee status, but they're essentially migrating to a different part of the world, to a certain extent illegally, according to the laws of the land that they're going to.
Well, I always thought that the difference between expats and migrants are expats are white people, and migrants are brown people.
Well,
or like
that's a
colored people.
differentiation, but also you have to consider the fact that expats, they go to they go to Dubai, for example, or Abu Dhabi or Qatar, and they basically are going because they're going on a work visa. They're going for a purpose that's already set in stone before they leave their country. Whereas a migrant is escaping some kind of turmoil or conflict in the hopes that they're going to make it to that destination that they want to get to.
Wouldn't it be the same? I mean, if a British person, let's say, is an expat in Dubai, I mean, they're escaping turmoil, I would say.
Yeah, but they're not escaping bombs. They're not escaping, being killed.
But is every migrant escaping like that? Like, I mean, some people move for like economic reasons, not necessarily because or for quality of life or whatever, right? Like,
but the difference is, like, an expat, for example, they're going to a different country because of the fact that they're making a move that is related to the career that's been established already in the country that they're leaving. So I know a lot of people who left Canada, for example, in HR and went to Dubai and got a job with a company doing recruiting, for example, in Dubai or Abu Dhabi. But they had a lead before they left. They had an interview before they left. They had a job offer before they left. That's the difference that I see. I know the background's getting really loud now. I can't do anything about that. Sorry.
No, expat seems a lot more voluntary, yeah? Expat seems a lot more voluntary, and there's like almost an expiry date. Like, you're going to be bouncing out of that place at some point. Whereas migrant or immigrant, these are all like, they've been forced out and we don't know when we're going back. Whereas expat is like, yeah, I'm here for 3 years and then I'm going to go back. Then we'll see where we are. Then we'll go to Hong Kong.
Well, I mean, at what point does it change? I mean, I feel like that it's about the direction that it goes. And so if it's east to west, it's migrant. And if it's west to east, it's expat. Like I mean, it feels to me that it's as simple as that. And so, I mean, even if you're let's say you're like a brown British person, and you move to the UK, you move to Dubai, then are you an expat, or are you I mean, I know, I understand the idea that like a migrant is in the hopes of getting citizenship or getting things, but it's not necessarily. I don't.
That same brown person, if they carry a British passport, what you're trying to say, and I get it, you're not wrong. I do get it. That same brown guy, if he's born in Britain and he comes to Dubai, he's an expat. That same brown guy, if he was born in India and moved to Dubai for that same job, he would be considered a migrant, right?
A migrant worker, yeah.
Let's say it's a head of marketing. I'm not saying like labor job, but if he was an Indian and coming to Dubai, he's suddenly a migrant. Whereas if he's
and there's also, I mean, MJ, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and Waseem, you can as well. There are different levels in terms of income based on the passport.
No, pay is different, man. It's a different pay scale entirely.
So even this, quote unquote, brown person coming from the UK, they'd get a different pay because they have a UK passport than someone coming from India. But I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I assume I think that's true, based on the passport as well.
It's true for both salary and like moving expenses. And if you get like 2 tickets to your home country, the ticket price is different if you're Indian versus if you're UK. Like you'll literally get more money if you're from the UK because the prices for the tickets are more expensive, right, usually speaking. But also the salary, the package, your the residence visa, the ease in which you'll get the visa, whatever visa the company is applying for you, it's just easier. I don't know if that's on purpose or by accident, but it really is in every practical sense, it's just easier when you have the expat passport.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the answer to that question.
I mean, you could always Google it, but
um,
Google knows everything.
Yeah. So as
again, bro, you're showing your age, Rashid, man. Who Googles things anymore? Now the cool kids are chat GPTing everything, bro.
Oh my god, that whole chat GPT thing, and I'm like, what the hell is going on with this now? Like this, like
no one Googles anything
this
anymore,
along with the spy balloon from China. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Wait.
Just before I left on vacation, this chat GPT thing exploded. And now the spy balloon, that's exploded. I'm like, what that? Like, I'm just going to live a life of ignorance in Thailand for another week before I have to go back to Canada. Like,
if you want to live a life of ignorance, come to Pakistan, because in those 4 days that you're talking about, our government banned Wikipedia. So if you want ignorance,
oh my
come
God.
on
what?
down.
No way. Really? Why?
Wow.
I did not hear. No, I swear I didn't hear about this. Please share.
I have a video on my channel, Millennial Strain, on YouTube coming out about it soon. They banned Wikipedia for blasphemous content, and then on Saturday they did this, and then by Tuesday or Monday, they backtracked and allowed it back on.
What was the content?
They never specified what content. They just said there's stuff against the religion, and khalas, we're banning the entire website. They never specified what pages, what content, nothing.
Wow.
And then after the outcry, after Wikipedia sent an international thing that, yo, you guys, because it wasn't like it was the Pakistan government. That's the headline, is the Pakistan government bans Wikipedia. Then Wikimedia, the owning company, the parent company of Wikipedia, they did a whole online, they got their pitchforks out. And by this morning, the prime minister, who has no back whatsoever, as usual, spineless, corrupt man, he bent over backwards and accepted what the world wanted him to do, which he shouldn't have done in the first place anyways. But yeah, that did happen in the 4 days. Literally, Wikipedia was banned and then they unbanned it.
Man, I don't know who does the advising, but also it's like sometimes, and this is where it's really scary. Yeah, money does the advising. Mm-hmm. Did you hear about this? What's it? I forget everybody's name. She said it was all about the. She said it was all about the Benjamins.
Mm-hmm.
And then she got flack for being anti-Semitic, saying saying it's all about the Benjamins is saying that Jews love money, and because Benjamin, because Benjamin, and then that means, and so she got a lot of flack over that. That happened a few days ago.
Ignoring the fact that that reference comes from a rap song.
And I think Benjamin is isn't Benjamin one of the people on one of the dollars, or
Benjamin Franklin?
Yeah,
he's on the $100 bill. That's where the song came from.
Was he Jewish?
No, he was a Puritan.
I don't understand. I see, but the thing is, once you have
president, he wasn't even a president. By the way, he never got elected.
Oh, I think this is the thing about politics, is that once you decide that you're against a person, it doesn't the reality of what they say or what the intention of what's, none of that shit matters. What matters is how can I just discredit them? How can I just say bad things about them?
Man, we can talk about this next time, because this exact thought which you just said, I had some guy on Twitter, he was like, I'm done with Trump, I'm gonna start voting for Ron DeSantis. And it was just really interesting that I was thinking when I read it, he's like, I was wrong, I should never have backed Trump, I made a mistake. So he's fully admitting that his analysis, somewhere along the way, his analysis was wrong, just flat out wrong. But instead of questioning his own biases and questioning his own thesis, just general political thesis, he's just doubled down and gone to the next guy. The guy who like represent, like, I don't understand, like, wouldn't you, if you fundamentally felt, man, I've been tricked, you now need to take a step back, first look at yourself and then look at your views. Does that make sense? But we can talk about that next time. Like, change in the political world, to change and to do a 180 is haram alayk. Like, you're not
It's
allowed
haram.
to
It's not
do
allowed, man. No, it's not allowed. Like, our understanding of politicians is that, you know, you're born with your views and you take those to your grave, and if you don't change anything, it doesn't matter what information comes in, like right, like it doesn't matter what changes, it doesn't matter what the thing, you're born, you start giving speeches, and those speeches are consistent throughout time, and you don't ever change your mind.
Until the market research tells you in 20 years that, hey, trends have changed, you just stick to the course, right? Stay the course.
Yep.
What you're asking, I think, of people to like to be self-critical, right? Like, that is not
even self-critical.
For many people, that's really difficult.
Not even self-critical. Step 0 is self-destruction. Once you've made a fundamental, your analysis has been so fundamentally wrong that your worldview, you're like, oh my God, I picked the wrong person for the last 3 years. You need to now self-destruct. You need to forget who you were and then start criticizing who you are, kind of thing. Does that, like, it's both self-destruction and self-critical, like self-awareness. It's self-reflection, both at the same time almost. Like, well, you do need to realize your biases first.
Well, as so many people, right? Like, I think their logic, where they don't think, they copy paste. So they take what it comes at them and then they repeat it. And usually, like, that's probably why it is like now a faux pas to have like political discussions amongst your family. Because, you know, even within your family, you're going to have, like, you know, these people don't think, this guy doesn't think, like, they don't think, they just like copy paste. And as soon as you start to like go, like, you know, play devil's advocate, even if you agree with them and you play devil's advocate, or you try to change up or try to ask questions or try to Socratic method them or whatever, you're shaking a foundation.
We just had a family discussion about evolution and, you know, politics, religion, it all comes out. And there's like, you know, you get your A to Z opinions. Everyone has their own opinion, especially Muslims when it comes to this kind of thing, science and religion.
The science of evolution, yeah.
That's not a combination Muslims can deal well with.
Yeah. Well,
so like you've got, like, even within that discussion, you had your hardcore scientists who are like, no, evolution, show me on a, you know, microscope, on a molecular, on a cellular level, show me this stuff and I believe you. And then you had people like within that discussion who were like, this is what the Imam has told me is written in certain books. And khalas, it doesn't matter what you show me. You can tell me DNA of a gorilla is 99.9% match. I don't care. We are different people. We're different beings.
We're different. Like, we were specially created. Everything else was made thing. Like, that is secondary. And anyway, they've doctored those genetics. They've doctored those reports. Like, why? Because, you know, the Benjamins, and and then if it ultimately does shift, and they're like, look, man, we found a skeleton of a thing, and it says that was written in the Quran. That was there from afar. What is
1400 years ago we were told this. Now you guys
figured this out. Look, and the guy who discovered it, he converted right away.
The stories of the conversions based on science is amazing.
As soon as he saw that, he converted. I've been going down this whole of this. Okay, so like cradle of civilization. All right, how old is civilization? like common knowledge is like 5,000, 6,000 years ago, right? 6,000 years ago, something like that. Mesopotamia, Egypt, and now there's apparently more and more evidence of an advanced ancient civilization that was like 12,000 years old, so like double, and that gets wiped out in a great flood. And yes, and that's why like a global flood that like so apparently like Indonesia was not a big landmass. It wasn't like a bunch of little islands, and the flood comes and turns it all to islands, and the Mediterranean spills over, and a huge body of water flows over the Sahara and comes out on the Atlantic side of Africa. And if you look at like a map of the desert and that, you can literally, and this is crazy, you could see the like striations of water having had run, like literally as if water spilled out of the Mediterranean and rushed along the
well, you can also see the shoreline that kind of denotes what the Sahara is.
Yeah,
as well. Like if you look at
the
it
Sahara
from like
at that time was like a jungle. Like at that time, it was a jungle, and so there's all this like now evidence and stuff, and apparently like old school geologists and like historian, like ancient guys are like, no way, please get out of here, ignorant, like no way, and the questions that come up are like, dude, why are there pyramids everywhere? Like why are there pyramids absolutely everywhere? And why pyramids? They're like, well, they independently happen all over the place around the same time. But why, man? How is that even possible? And then how'd they build them? And they're like, oh well, they just kind of cut out the stone and they dragged it along. And you're like, how? How'd they do that? Have you ever tried to cut out stone and try like it's not possible to do it the way you're saying that it's done. And so you're just explaining away all of these inconsistent, like inconceivable like things. But the main like point and why is this such a big deal and why am I really down this rabbit hole and why am I loving this? There's actually a Netflix documentary I think called Ancient Civilizations that like goes from place to place and like looks at these places and it's really cool. But why is that there is like the potential for like world-changing catastrophes to happen on a dime, and we have no protection. Like we have no, like there's nothing we can do about these things. And like I was telling my wife about it, and she was like, why do you keep listening to all these like depressing things that like are just like why are you so addicted to bad news? Like why do you keep looking for it? And I was like, no, this is not bad news. This is good news. Because if okay, most people aren't like this, I think. But if you know that there is like an impending doom or an impending disaster, then you're not gonna sweat the small stuff. You're gonna like enjoy the time that you got. And isn't that life? Like, isn't that actually what life is? Like, at the end, we all end up in the dirt, like we all end up done. And so, but we spend so much time sweating what we call the small stuff, but we don't like, so like, even though that's why I love this little, like this hole that I'm like going in and I'm like, oh, cool. Advanced ancient civilization, use some crazy anti-gravity move to get the pyramids up and going and this, and then all of that knowledge, all of that thing and just disappears in a great flood and the survivors are left and the survivors look around and are like, what the hell just happened? And then all of the intelligence, the advancement gone, back to zero, try again. Like, and then we build up again. And then that could happen now. We could have a big whoosh. I mean, I was listening to a thing. It's like, if something happens to Elon, that's it. The space thing is over. Like it's like a one guy that's like trying to get us all up into space like this. And if anything happens to him, well, who's going to take over, right? Like...
Yeah. Well, this whoosh, I felt it here in Pakistan this last July and August when we had the historic flooding here. I genuinely firsthand felt how like just like there's nothing you can do if the weather turns against you, because it rained here for basically 2 months nonstop, day after day after day. And we're not, this is a city that, Karachi at least is a city that can handle 5 days in the entire year. And this was 60 days. And, there's still people who are still like, the country's still flooded by that climate change disaster.
Yeah.
And that experience, it really did. It is what you were saying. Like you stop sweating all the stuff. You're just like, man, like just put your head down, enjoy the stuff while you can, because khalas, so one day 6 feet under, maybe collectively, maybe one by one.
The other example is the most recent earthquake in Turkey and Syria.
Mm.
And I watched one video of a building collapse, and I'm like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. Like it was just,
it's hard.
It was like a 40-second video, I think it would say. And I'm just watching the video, and I know the earthquake, you can hear it and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden the building just was whoosh, gone.
I think,
and you're, oh my God, like what the hell?
When you, like when you drop, like, so when you, I think one of the ways, like sort of without a natural disaster, like it's horrible. These things that happen, it like ruins people's lives. It's absolutely horrible. But I feel like when you go camping and you go out into the woods and you like, you're away from everything and it's just simple. That's when you start to like let go of all the small stuff. Like you just like, that's how to like bring it home. Like now I'm here and now I have to walk and now I have to like this and now I have to like, make fire and now I have to chill. Like I like this, that's like a practice for your brain to like chill. And we have such a hyper consumption world when it comes to like tech and information and stuff that, without countering that, it's very easy. And that's why I think why, like, one of the reasons at least why, like, mental health is like at an all-time, like depressions are at all-time high, loneliness is at all-time high, like all these like issues that come as a result of having too much information, just like feeding you constantly. Like the first thing you do, you wake up in the morning, you turn around, you get your phone, and then information coming into you. I actually heard a really nice way somebody said is that like to stop me from doing that, which was like, imagine you just woke up. Would you let 100 people into your bedroom? Right? Would you just let people into your room as soon as you open your eyes? You wouldn't do that, right? And that's kind of what you do when you take your phone and you start going into the scrolls, is that you're letting all these people into your headspace, and you just open your eyes. Like you're not ready for all of this information. And I do find that when I'll see things, like if I go on Instagram, I'll go on it. If I go on it in the morning, as soon as I wake up, I get really sad. Like I can't deal with the information. But when I deal with it at 3 in the afternoon, I'm chilling. Like I got like some time to kill, or I'm just chilling for something. I'm just going through. I'm in a much better mood in seeing what people are up to and what things are there, versus when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, these stupid people, and I get so upset about Instagram in the morning when I'm on it. Like and I think I'm more upset with myself than I am with Instagram.
Yeah. I'm with you. The whole, even the morning thing, I don't do Instagram. I minimize it as much as possible. I don't like that app at all. At least Twitter and stuff, it's still funny. You can find like funny comments and stuff, and it's more real life. I feel Instagram is the most.
Yeah, it seems quite fake.
The most social media.
Oh man, the amount of influencers, quote unquote, that I see on the beaches here. Like earlier today, we went to an island off the coast. We had to take a taxi boat to get there, and the amount of people we watched take the influencer photo of the stupid like behind the back look, or like the one arm up in the air in the water, and I'm like, actually I did it just for fun.
Holding the mountain in your fingers.
There is photo evidence of me imitating these idiots doing that. Maybe I'll send it to you later.
I think like photos on vacation is different from like these like Instagram, TikTok dance reels now. Like the world is burning and these people are dancing, and it's like it is.
Well, yeah, I
really
mean, they make a life out of it. They make a career out of it, right? So you're like, oh, come on, seriously, that's what you consider your career to be?
No, I don't even. It's just it's in like. I don't know. I do agree. Let's just like this is a topic for another day. We're gonna go down a different like this could go on for a thing. I just do agree with Waseem that if I do open any of these social media, any social media in the morning, it's like ill mannered morning. It's not fun. It's always just tempered.
Yeah, it just feels more stupid. I'm not ready for it.
Whereas
yeah.
Start open. Oh, hey, let's check. You got done out of your checklist. Let's check out the group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up because time is of the essence, and you shouldn't be listening to us this long.
Before you wrap it up, I'm just gonna say this. So, in terms of what you guys were talking about before I join the conversation, in terms of like third culture individuals with media visibility, one guy that I want to give credit to in Canada on Sportsnet is Faisal Khamisa. Obviously brown guy based on the name, but he's one of the main Sportsnet anchors, and he does a pretty good job. So like I can see that he would be an influence for some who would be like, well, I can't get into the sports media because, well, I'm a brown person. Like, what the hell? They don't take us on. And you can also say that there's a diversity hire, but he's been doing it now for quite some time on air as an anchor with Sportsnet. And so I give him kudos for that. So.
Well, and that's probably the most annoying thing, and I think for third culture kids that are sort of not white third culture kids, because whenever they get hired, they're a diversity hire. Like whenever they get to them, like that even if it is like it's hard to tell whether. And that sucks. That sucks so much. That sucks so much that like you might achieve something and you don't know if the reason why you achieved it is because you achieved it, or it's because. And I think maybe as a third culture kid, I'm a bit more sensitive to that than because like I don't necessarily think like like why people ask themselves that question. Like, did I just get this job because I'm white? Right, like is my privilege a thing? And maybe there are now, and so like now there's like self-hating like whites, and so that like I think there's a lot of this thing, and I'm kind of like merit, like we got to go back to merit, right? Like and as hard as that is, in some places but that's like the difference between places. Like is merit rewarded? Or are there other factors at play? Or are cousins rewarded, right? Is merit rewarded, or are people with the same gender, skin type, skin color, hairstyles rewarded,
Or ethical behaviors, or lack of behaviors.
Yeah. And that'll tee us up for next week. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for getting to the end. Make sure to click on that subscribe button. Shameless, I know, but please do. And I actually don't even know how I would know if people did subscribe. We got to figure that out. So maybe you are, and we just don't know because we're like monkeys. So thanks all, and see you next week. Peace.
Take care.